Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash and James Gunn's DCU. And in this video, we will be talking about the ongoing mystery regarding The Flash in the DCU. Most specifically, who is actually going to be The Flash? Is it going to be Barry Allen, or is it going to be Wally West? Both of which are, of course, big characters in the Flash universe, and they're big characters in DC Comics as well. But who is actually going to be the Flash in James Gunn's DC universe? This is exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. Obviously, on one side we have Barry Allen, who's been the face of the Flash for years. He, of course, is the main version of the Flash, and we've obviously had a 9-season TV show with the Flash. We've had other TV shows with Barry Allen-centric Flash, and we've obviously had the Flash in the DCEU as well as his own movie as well. But then there's Wally West, who of course has appeared in different live action series and live action projects, and he's appeared in like animated series and stuff as well. Most recently, he's been teased in Creature Commandos. But this still brings the ongoing discussion, especially because we don't really know anything about the Flash in James Gunn's DC universe. Is it time for Wally to take the lead, or is it going to still be Barry Allen? So without wasting any more time, let's just get straight into it. So of course, let's start with the OG. Let's start with the man himself, Barry Allen. So Barry Allen is of course the main version of the Flash. He is the most mainstream Flash as well, and the Flash that's appeared the most in different projects. We've obviously had multiple projects with the Flash. He's had a 9-season run on a TV show, and he's got a solo film in the DCEU, as well as appearing in multiple DCEU projects at the same time. So Barry Allen, of course, is the main version of the Flash. He is the main version of the Flash in the comics. He's a founding Justice League member in the comics, but also we've had Barry Allen as like the spotlight for many years now, which obviously does make sense because, like I said, he is the more popular version of the Flash. And when you think of the Flash, realistically, everyone thinks about Barry Allen before you do think about Wally West. Now, with James Gunn obviously rebooting the DC universe, many fans are wondering, is Barry Allen still going to be the Flash? Is James Gunn going to continue with Barry Allen? Now, in my opinion, Barry Allen still does fit, and it does make sense. Now, this means no disrespect to Wally. Obviously, I'm going to mention why Wally makes sense as well. But firstly, starting off with Barry Allen, and this does come from bias because I am more familiar with Barry Allen than I am with Wally. Overall, storyline-wise, Barry Allen has the better story. He's got the better legacy, and he's just got the better background in general. He's a forensic scientist with, of course, living with a tragic past, which is, of course, his mother's murder and his father being framed for it. And I think these still serve as very interesting storylines that they could explore in James Gunn's DCU. Now, of course, we do have other superheroes in James Gunn's DCU, and they are already established superheroes. And from what we're seeing, it does seem like some of them, like for example, most notably with Superman, he is more in his earlier years as Superman. And saying that you're going to build on the Justice League eventually, like you're having characters like Batman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and Superman, with them being in their earlier years, it does also make sense to have the Flash in his earlier years as well. And you could still go along with the story that his father's in prison. He's still trying to track down the murderer of his mother. And of course, you can tie in the Reverse Flash and everything in that as well. It can seem repetitive, yes, but if you're doing the Flash in his earlier years, then it would work. And also, you can very much play around with the Reverse Flash and do the Flash in his earlier years as well, if you're gonna do it in the movies, because we didn't really have it on the DCEU side of things. Like, yes, we've had the Flash already established, and yes, we did have a shocker of a movie of Flashpoint, but still, we did not really get a very good Flash story with that film, and we didn't really have them use their main antagonist either. And although we did have that on the TV show, it would still feel different on the big screen as well. So Barry Allen does have a very great storyline opportunity for James Gunn's DCU and what he's trying to build. and he does have like an emotional backstory. He does have some great character depth as well. So it does make sense if you want to go with Barry Allen. And obviously it goes without saying that he does have the significantly better villains as well. Second to Batman and Spider-Man, the Flash does have the best rogues gallery after that. Obviously, he's got the Reverse Flash, one of DC's greatest villains. And obviously, yes, you can play around with Professor Zoom with Wally, but Reverse Flash is just better. And you can also play around with the rogues as well if you're going to go through with the rogues, which I think James Gunn should do when it comes to the next upcoming project. I think we should get characters like Captain Cold and Mirror Master. But these villains, like I said, they're more connected to Barry than they are to Wally. And yes, Wally does have his own set of villains as well. But these villains relate to Barry more. And like I said, depending on what they want to do with the Flash, like if they want to put the Flash as a founding Justice League member as well, then I think they should follow through with Barry Allen. Now, also to mention is that who the audience would be more familiar with. Now, comic book readers, hardcore comic book readers, and some Flash fans would be aware of Wally West, obviously, but they would obviously be more familiar with Barry Allen. So I think media-wise and audience familiarity, Barry Allen does make a lot of sense. But also at the same time, James Gunn is very, very good at one thing, and that is bringing lesser known characters into the fold and making them very, very popular, like you can see with Suicide Squad and like you can see with Pacemaker as well. Like before Peacemaker, before the series, you'd be like, who on earth is this guy? But James Gunn actually turns him into someone that's known and someone that's very loved. It's a show that people are now looking forward to, and it's someone that people are interested in. And same goes with Marvel with Guardians of the Galaxy. What I'm trying to say over here is James Gunn is very, very good at bringing lesser known characters and bringing them up into like a great level of popularity, which he can definitely do with Wally West. Now this works as a perfect transition to talk about Wally West. Now Wally West is an interesting character that James Gunn can play around with, in a sense that he's never been the lead Flash in live action ever. And that provides a very unique story opportunity for James Gunn to explore. Like, we've had years and years of Barry Allen already. And if you want to follow through with something new and something that's not been seen before, following through with Wally West also does make sense. Now, for those being like, wait, hold on, isn't Wally just supposed to be a sidekick though? In the comics, he does become the Flash at one point. And some would argue that he is actually a better written Flash, although Barry Allen still being the more known version of the Flash. And it is a known fact that at one point, Wally does become faster than Barry as well. So Wally West is known as the fastest Flash in the comics universe. Now, Wally, as I said, offers a new spin. We've had years of Barry, and Wally hasn't had the spotlight yet. So you can argue, yes, now it's time for Wally to take the lead. Now, I'd say Wally works better with, James Gunn's vibe. Like, of course, he's funnier, he's more impulsive, and he's more emotionally driven, and he's more relatable to, like, the youth. So his vibe perfectly fits James Gunn. Yes, like, he is serious and stuff like that, but he does have this, like, lightheartedness which Barry Allen also has, but not to the extent of Wally. So I think with that, and you can play around like a kind of like a jokey character in a way, but not too much, Wally does work better. And although not a founding Justice League member, Wally is actually a core member of the Teen Titans. So if Gunn's long-term plan includes introducing the Titans at one point, so bringing in Nightwing, Starfire, or Beast Boy, Wally is the Flash that fits this world perfectly. And like I said, at one point he does become faster than Barry, and he does have very interesting storylines in the comics which involves him being deeply connected to the Speed Force, and also he does have some very cool multiversal stories as well. Like I said, although Barry does have the better villains and he's the more known version of the Flash, storylines with Wally and his speed and just like multiversal stuff in general, it would be something really cool to explore. And also we did have a Creature Commandos teaser most recently with Wally West as well. So this does already bring in the possibility of potentially with them going forward with Wally, or they're going to go forward with Barry being the main Flash, but Wally still being around in this universe. Now, obviously, the question does come up. If Wally is the Flash, then what happens to Barry Allen in this universe? So, there's a couple of things they can do. Obviously, simply James Gunn could just be like, okay, Barry Allen just doesn't exist. He's not in this universe, and Wally is just the Flash. Or they could play around with something else where maybe Barry is more so like a mentor type figure. Like he could play the Jay Garrick type role in this DCU. So with Wally being the Flash, the main Flash, and you have Barry Allen being like this Jay Garrick type character, like a father figure character to Wally, I think something like that could work. Other than that, I don't really know what else they could do with Barry. Like, I'd say it would be too early to presume like he's gone missing, he's trapped in the Speed Force and stuff like that. So the easiest option to go for is to either just write him off and say he's not in the DCU, or he does play this Jay Garrick type character where he just passes on the mantle to Wally, and when Wally just hits his lowest, you have Barry there like giving him the pep talks, giving him the motivations he needs, and just trains him in general to become a better hero. Those things can work as well. And with this mentor type role that you give Barry, it does still acknowledge Barry Allen's legacy in the DC universe as well. So that would be something very interesting to explore. But this brings up the question, who should be the Flash in the DCU? Now, my answer still doesn't change. I would rather Barry Allen, but I would want them to lead up to Wally West. Kind of like what they did in the MCU with Captain America and it leading to Sam Wilson becoming Captain America. And for now, he's like the Falcon. I would want to see that. So still you have Barry Allen. He is your main version of the Flash, but you have Wally around as Kid Flash, and he could be doing his thing with the Titans while you have Barry dealing with the Justice League stuff. I still think that should be the way to go about it. Still, like I said, yes, James Gunn is very good at bringing lesser known characters into very great big popularity, but I still think Barry Allen should be the Flash because he is the better known version of the Flash, and Barry Allen isn't someone you can just ignore. He is a founding member of the Justice League, and yes, although he's not going to have as that big of a significant role by what it looks like so far, Barry Allen isn't a character you can just ignore. So I get that you would want to start fresh, but I would say still continue with Barry Allen. He does have the better storylines in my opinion. He does have the much better villains to go forward with as well. And I think with the right casting for Barry Allen, I think you can just do a very, very good job in this DCU. Like I said, they'll eventually build up to Wally becoming the Flash. Maybe have like a Crisis on Infinite Earths type event down the line, like 10 years down the line, have the Flash disappear and then have Wally becoming the Flash. I think that's a very good way that they could go about it. Or just have a simple storyline where Barry just passes the torch to Wally and he's like, okay, Wally, it's your turn. But right now we're in the earlier versions of the DCU, like we're still yet starting, and Superman's gonna be there in like 2 months, so it's still very, very fresh and very new. So I think for now it should be Barry Allen, and still have Wally there. Like I said, have him as Kid Flash, have him appear in the different Flash projects that are going to happen, have him there as the Titans, but eventually build his role to significance and eventually him becoming the Flash. That's how I think they should do it, but I don't think they should kick off the DCU with Wally being the Flash. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all of this. Do you guys think that it should be Barry Allen or it should be Wally West? I'm interested to see all of your thoughts towards all of this as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.